President Cyril Ramaphosa is definitely not having a good week. Ramaphosa had to cancel his engagements to try and work out how to save his position amid this scathing Phala-Phala report. The Section 89 panel report paints the president as a constitutional delinquent. For more on this, we're joined by eNCA's Pule, Letshwiti-Jones, as well as Aviwe, Mtila. Good morning to the both of you. Perhaps to start with you, Pule, you are stationed outside Letuli House. Is there any movement at this point, perhaps of some coming in to discuss that all-important Section 89 report, or preparing for what is to take place in Nasrec a bit later on today?
No movement yet. As far as we understand, most of the NEC members will be making their way to Nasrec, and that's where they'll be preparing for that NEC meeting, which of course will discuss, like you've said, that report which was handed over to the Speaker of the National Assembly by the Section 89 independent panel. And they understand that from there onwards, that's where the discussions and views from the various NEC members will be held. But particularly to that, you'd remember that ANC leader Ms. Nkosazana Zuma as well was quite scathing in the fact that she said in her capacity, in her views rather, the president should step aside immediately just after that report had been handed over to Parliament, citing that any leader who's conflicted in such matters should take the correct decision and precedent to step aside. So you see that there's already twisted views there, while others of course were seen as having to try to persuade the president not to resign just after yesterday, when we were getting news and of course various sources confirming that he was just nearly tempted to ensure that he takes the exit route and resigned. But of course, those close to him saying that they had spoken to him, and there were of course various consultations that had been taking place to try and have the president come back again and not resign. As far as we understand, some of the tripartite alliance partners as well say that they will be meeting with the ANC's top brass after the NEC meeting has of course adjourned, to try and see how they can resolve this issue and what measures will be held to take this matter forward. They had said that yesterday they held the Central Committee meeting. However, that the matter of Palapala wasn't discussed, but we do understand that there will be efforts to meet the president after this meeting has been held. Perhaps let's just take a listen to what Mike Shingange had to say from Kosatu.
The implosion of the ANC have always been coming, irrespective of what the Kosato thinks about that. It's an internal difficulty that we have been going through over the past few years. However, when it comes to political choices and political relations, particularly the alliance, as things stand now, Kosato is very much part of the alliance. Our National Congress discussed a number of options and discussed the state of our NGR, to which we have come to a conclusion that actually it's facing challenges. We've come to a conclusion that is facing a regression in terms of the gains of the revolution. However, we are part of the alliance as it stands. And I must also indicate that this Central Executive Committee could not conclude conclusively the way forward as and when it comes to this thing of the political choices. That's why we are convening a special CC early in the next year to conclude this discussion. But as things stand now, we are very much part of the alliance, because let's reiterate this thing once again. Our alliance with ACCP, COSATU and the ANC has not come to be born only when we were in government. It was the alliance that started long before we even knew that one day we'll gain freedom in this country. We were together in the trenches to try and liberate this country. We continue to be together to drive the transformation agenda in this country. It's not an electoral pact per se. It's not an electoral alliance. So therefore, the ideas that the ANC stands for, the organization that the ANC is still represent very much the constituency that ourselves as COSATU we represent.
All right, let's bring in Aviwe. Aviwe, you're stationed at the Union buildings. I know a bit earlier you spoke to a political analyst. What outcome does he say would be best for the country in the main?
Hello, Mfundo. Yes, that's correct. I'm at the seat of power, the Union Buildings, where President Cyril Ramaphosa is still the country's president. We haven't had a rosy relationship with our presidents in the past. You'd remember that we've been dumped twice as the country, and the most recent and notable one, I'd say, was the breakup we had with former President Jacob Zuma happening on Valentine's Day back in 2018. He said that it wasn't our fault. In fact, he put the blame at the ANC, saying that it's a decision that he didn't want to do, but had to abide by as a disciplined cadre of the ANC. A decade before that, it was former President Thabo Mbeki who broke up with the country, resigning on the 24th of September 2008. I beg your pardon. What is, though, behind all these resignation and the party, ANC, recalling all its presidents? In fact, let me get insight from Professor Tifu, a political analyst here at the Union Buildings, just to get an understanding what is behind all of this. Professor, thank you for joining us at eNCA. But let's start with former President Jacob Zuma. Maybe remind us how his resignation came about and what is the real issue behind it.
Let me just start out with your opening comment. We don't seem to have a rosy romantic relationship with our presidents. Why is it so? Precisely because they are not our president. They are the president of the organizations elected by the organization on behalf of the people. When are the people of South Africa going to elect their own leaders? Until and unless we deal with that, come another 5 or 20 years, we'll still be firing or a president being removed by the factions that are powerful for the day. Change the Electoral Act of the Republic of South Africa so that the people of South Africa can elect their leaders. I tell you, had that been the case, Mbeki would have finished his term. Most probably would not have had the so-called wasted years. Because until and unless you deal with meritocracy, you are opening the door for kleptocracy. We can use all the jargons we please, but here we are with Cyril Ramaphosa. Why is he going? At the end of the day, those who elected him, not me. I can't tell you that he's doing a bad job. If anything, comparatively speaking, he has done well. But he has to go because a faction wants them out. Please, let the people of the land begin to decide on how we change the system, that the presidents are accountable to us, and we have a romantic relationship, a good one, as you said.
Talking about presidents who do well, a lot of people revere to the presidency of Thabo Mbeki, saying that he was an outstanding president when it came to growing the economy.
He was a good CEO.
But why then was he recalled? What was the root cause of it? Was it factionalism within the ANC?
Undoubtedly. Remember, it was not the ANC. I was standing here then, and I'm here again, when somebody was recalled at midnight on that day. I'm here, unfortunately, again, on the eve of another momentous occasion. But I'm saying to you, Mbeki would not have been recalled. And he was not recalled by the ANC, by the way. He was recalled by 4 people. Of the 4 people in the ANC who recalled him, 3 of them apologized.
What was the reason?
One of them was there. One of them was here. And I was here when he apologized. One of them apologized to him in the University Hall at the University of South Africa, UNISA, right? Another one also was there. He apologized. It was again at UNISA. There is one man, I'm still waiting for him, right, to apologize. There were 4. They know themselves. And I mentioned them many times. Luckily, they apologized. So it was not the ANC, the influential folks. Today, they are meeting. I don't think they will have the number to take him out. Even cumulatively or combined, I doubt Mkhize, Nkosazana, and Sisulu combined. I don't think they will summon sufficient strength or numbers to take him out.
So is this a numbers game, if I can put it like that? Because if you remember when they recalled President Thabo Mbeki, the president of the ANC was Jacob Zuma at the time, who had been elected. And I understand when they recalled President Jacob Zuma, the president of the ANC was Cyril Ramaphosa at the time, who had been elected. So maybe give us more detail. Is it a numbers game within the party and the NEC?
I like it that way. I like how you phrase your question, because it has nothing to do with policies, values, or service to the people. Nothing to do with that. It's just about factional interests. Because if you look at it, Mbeki was supposedly, he used state institutions to fight X or Z. right? But when it mattered most, okay, you take him out. Then the people's president comes in, right? Then he's said to be not doing things the right way. On 8 occasions, they defended him in Parliament when a motion of no confidence was placed in. Now, what happened and why was it the case? Because human beings across the globe, across the color line, tend to follow power wherever it goes. But those with a moral conscience will be guided by their conscience. But in my country and in Africa, it's the stomach more than the brain that tends to influence political decisions and voting. Because I'm saying, only when Ramaphosa won the election to be and became ANC president, people realized that Zuma no longer has power, right? He no longer had venom, and then they ditched him. They drifted towards where power was going, right? Even now, they could ditch Ramaphosa if he was at his weakest. And unfortunately, and I might sound disappointing, I don't think he is at his weakest. Yes, he scored an own goal, a very costly one for him and even for the country, because the country, according to me, it needs him more than ever before, given at least how weakened and fractured the ANC is, and that we are drifting towards a coalition, a government in 2024. I would have loved him to be there with his steady hands, slow as he might be, but he would help us into a better transition.
So, by your logic, Professor, given that it seems that he might yield power within the ANC now, given the nominations we saw where he had over 2,000 votes from the branches, he is not going anywhere, no matter the Section 89 panel's findings.
Yes, again, let's be frank. What does the findings say? There is so much hoo-ha and excitement, and people don't want to interrogate what it says. Prima facie means there is a possibility you might have done something wrong at the face of it. However, let there be a conclusive process that says definitively, conclusively, you have made a mistake. And at that point, the impeachment bar is much higher than the one that we are talking about. That one says there must be substantive and tangible evidence. And yes, his temperament is not such that the president would like to fight. But if he wanted to fight, I have no doubt he would prevail. Because then you need not less than 12 months to go through that process. And some might be saying to me, you know what? Maybe he must run that gauntlet, because he will win the election in 2 weeks' time, and then he can help us prepare for 2024 while he's still fighting this. He has not committed any crime. They say he might have. Let's deal with that. And then there are many who stole money. VBS, digital vibes, right? PPEs. And then we are not saying much about them. This man, I hear somebody in my village say, but Dave, why do you hate this man so much? They steal money from his own cattle. He sold his own cattle. They steal money from him, and you want to chuck him out. But you leave those ones out. Please, go and talk to that man in the village. Convince him why he must go. And those who stole from the public purse, those who steal from the poor, must be left scot-free. Who are the people, by the way, calling for him to go? Are those who are afraid to go to jail. Many of them have skeletons in their closets. Should we be guided and led by them? I'm sorry, the country deserves better. Let's wake up and stand up and defend this country. Ramaphosa scored an own goal. He's not an angel. He must pay the price, but let him be allowed space to go, everything to go through due process. I for one, I need more now. And if there is any punishment, yes, so be it. But I maintain, I need more now than ever before. The country is fractured. Let's do some penal beating.
All right, thank you very much. Interesting insights there from Professor Tefo, of course, saying that the presidents don't seem to be the presidents of the country, but more so the presidents of the ANC. Hence, we see them time and again being recalled by the governing party, and they abide by that, because Professor Tefo says that they serve the interests of the party first before they serve the interests of the country. And when you look at that, it seems factionalism is at play, where when you are a lame duck, voted out of power by the elective Congress itself, which we're going into in December. You have no powers anymore. Hence, then, the party resorts to recalling you no matter what allegations are around you. Some interesting insights there from Professor Tefo outside the seats of power in the union buildings.
All right, interesting insights indeed. Thank you very much, Aviwe, Mtila, as well as Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's stationed outside Letuli House. Now,